Hello, everyone. And as we continue our series on grief, we're going to talk about today the stages of grief and some tasks. J. William Warren identified 4 tasks for the successful resolving of grief. These models describe grief as an active process that individual can work through rather than a passive experience that happens to them. The tasks include accepting the reality of the loss, processing the pain of grief, and adjusting to a changed world, and remembering the deceased while moving forward. Task 1. To accept the reality of the loss. Oftentimes, after a death, survivors struggle to accept the reality of what has happened. They may also deny the significance of the loss. Accepting the reality of the death means coming to terms with the loss both emotionally and intellectually. Task 2. To process the pain of grief. This task includes confronting your emotions, even painful emotions. These terms recognize you are experiencing pain. Showing emotions, crying, naming your emotions, and learning how to cope with them. Task 3. To adjust to a world without the deceased. After a loss, survivors must face a world without their loved one. And this task involves making internal, external, and sometimes spiritual adjustments to the loss. Let's talk about them. Internal. Adjustments are changes to one's identity. Survivors must ask themselves, who am I without my loved one? External. Adjustments including taking on different roles and responsibility. For example, a spouse who was previously responsible for childcare may now have to seek employment outside of the home. Spiritually, adjustments involve changing to the person's worldview, beliefs, and assumption. For example, someone who believes the world is a fair and kind place may no longer feel this way after a loss. And task 4. To find a way to remember the deceased while moving forward in life. This means keeping a place in your heart for the person you lost while moving and willing to move on with your life. This may also mean allowing yourself to be happy and love again. Mourning is not a linear process. The tasks are often completed in order, but not always. Also, a task may be revisited many times before it is completed. As we talk about the stages of grief, the first stage is denial. We often think this can't be happening. The individual may refuse to accept the fact that a loss has occurred. They may minimize or outright deny the situation. It is suggested that loved ones and professionals be forward and honest about the loss and not prolong the denial stage. Anger. Why is this happening to me? When an individual realizes that a loss has occurred, they may become angry at themselves or others. They may argue that the situation is unfair and try to place blame. Bargaining. I would do anything to change this. In bargaining, the individual may try to change or delay their loss. For example, they may try to convince a partner to return after a breakup or search for unlikely cures in the case of terminal illness. Depression. What's the point of going on after this loss? They fall into a depression. At the state of depression, the individual has come to recognize that a loss has occurred or will occur. The individual may isolate themselves and spend time crying and grieving. Depression is a precursor to acceptance because the individual has come to recognize their loss. And then the last one is acceptance. It's going to be okay. Finally, the individual will come to accept their loss. They understand the situation logically, and they have come to terms emotionally with the situation. We as believers, but but understand that grief is a part of life. For the Bible lets us know in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 through 4, there's a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to mourn and a time to laugh. And Psalms 147 verse 3 says, He heals the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds. So today, as we complete our session on grief, understanding the tasks and stages, I encourage each and every one of you in this process to know that there's no wrong or right way to grieve, but at least you understand what you're going through and the processes that it takes. And remember, there's no order and there's no particular way. You may complete and return. It may go in and out. But I wanted to educate you on to what is happening to you, what is happening to the person around you, and why they're experiencing what they're experiencing. In light of helping you heal, mend, and come through this place of any loss in your life, but especially a loved one. Be blessed, encouraged, and please share.